All right, I think we're live. Um, so welcome back to the Engineer Disaster Talk. I'm your host, Mike V. This is episode 007, the bullet or the ballot. So I just wanted to cover some of the final stretch of tonight's election. Very big election that we're in right now, and this could change a lot of things. So I just wanted to make sure that we covered it here. The things that are very important. So a lot of people are in these lines waiting a long time for to cast their vote. Completely understandable. This is a game-changing sort of election. We haven't seen anything like this in a long time. And so I want to make sure that we cover the map, the electoral map, for how this is going to work out. So let me share my screen real quick and make sure we cover this correctly. All right, let me share my screen. Hopefully people can hear me. I'm not actually, all right, here's my screen right here. Let me expand it out. This is coming from 538. So in order to win, you need 270 electoral votes. And from what it looks like, based on the numbers that's stopped at 5 o'clock, Trump needs to win Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is very important. It's the major swing state, Pennsylvania and Florida. There's a high probability that he's going to take Florida, yes, because he has a strong base down there, or the Republicans have a strong base and they're riding with Trump on that ticket. However, Pennsylvania is important, Arizona is important, and so is Michigan. Now let me pull up let me find this point here. All right, just give me a second. Just pull this up. So Biden is slated to win in these key states of Wisconsin and Michigan. Okay, Wisconsin is is a wild card because Trump has a strong following out there, but it's usually a red state anyways. But if Biden takes Wisconsin, Trump would have to take Pennsylvania. If Trump does not take Pennsylvania, he has no shot at winning this. He needs to take all of these key swing states, these two key swing states, which is Florida and Pennsylvania. If he doesn't take those, he's screwed. High probability he can take Florida. Okay, we'll give him that. New Hampshire has to go his way as well. From what I saw this morning, they were already calling that New Hampshire is going Biden's way. So how this is going to play out for Trump is that it's almost a given he'll take Texas. It's almost a given that he'll take Arizona. But if Arizona is leaning towards Biden, that's a problem. These swing states are key battleground states for Trump and the Republican Party. And so what I will say here is that Let me pull this up. Look at North Carolina real quick. It's leaning towards Biden. Okay. North Carolina is leaning towards Biden. You know, 50-50 Trump can take that, but all the numbers look like they're going towards Biden. Ohio is probably going to go Trump, definitely. Okay. Pennsylvania, high probability is going to go to Biden. Fair enough. The numbers won't be in until 8 o'clock. So I'm just putting this out here right now. I don't see how Trump gets to 270 with even with all the given states in his favor. I don't see how he gets to 270 personally. Now, the other aspect I wanted to make sure I covered was that actually, let me pull this up. So I'm just using this map as a quick reference. Biden at 271, Trump at 267. So even if everything is in Trump's favor, he still doesn't get to 270. Okay. I mean, and this is given that he takes New Hampshire. And from what I've seen this morning, it doesn't look like New Hampshire is going in Trump's favor. And so he would have to take Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Florida together and Arizona together in order to get to 270. He's not going to get there unless he takes those. And so this is important that people think that Trump, you know, is going to just win based on the popularity. And it's like, he has a lot of people at his rallies, yes, but to get to the Electoral College at 270, that doesn't look like it's in his favor at all. Okay, doesn't look like it's in his favor. That's given all the states, and he already lost New Hampshire, from what I understood. I don't know. You know, I see Biden pulling out of this thing all the way in, you know, into the night. It doesn't look like Trump is going to take it. So I just wanted to make sure I shared that and put my thoughts out there because more people are being kicked off of the polls from a voters registration perspective in Black communities. And so I think over 100,000 have been deregistered. And so this is a problem. You know, it's not so much that they're going to vote red, but it's more about to weaken the blue states. And so that's a major issue. The other issue here is that people are saying that, well, Biden created, you know, the crime bill, right? The architect of the crime bill. Very true, he is. But let's do a fact check on Biden real quick. So this is from factcheck.org. Biden on the 1994 crime bill. Okay. Let me zoom this in for people who may not be able to see this. Democratic support. Biden in the 1980s and the 1990s, violent crime was out of control. The crime bill was designed to deal with that problem. That's why it was supported overwhelmingly by the Democratic Party, by African-American leaders all across the nation, including the majority of the Black caucus in Congress. The Congressional Black Caucus is who they're referring to. Okay, so that's a fact check for that. Fact check 2 is the bill cut violent crime rate in half. Biden, the crime bill worked in some areas, but it failed in others. The violent crime rate was cut in half in America. So it got bipartisan support, despite the fact that Biden was the architect. Okay. Fact check 3, Republican opposition, Biden. But it was opposed by Republicans, people like Mitch McConnell, not because they thought it was too tough, because they thought it was too soft. So that's why the Republicans were in opposition to it. They wanted more aggression within the agenda itself of the bill. They felt it dedicated too much money to things like prevention. Remember, they had those prisoners dancing in tutus saying Biden wants to have after school programs. Biden wants to have prevention programs. So the prevention programs were these drug addiction programs and so on and so forth that would prevent repeat offenders from going to jail, recidivism. And so people like Mitch McConnell were actually against it. So let's go to fact check number 4, drug courts assault weapon ban. Biden, I also wrote it into that law, drug courts. Anyone arrested for a drug problem because they are addicted should be diverted into a drug court, not into a prison. So this is the fact check here, okay? 1994. Fact check number 5. Biden, it included my Violence Against Women's Act, which I wrote. It included something strengthening the Brady bill on background checks, eliminated assault weapons. Yeah, this is true. In 1994, this is true. Okay, you can't buy certain magazine clips, magazines for guns that are post 1994. Okay, this is, and even in Massachusetts, this is the case too. So you can't get what they consider to be assault rifle in Massachusetts either. Okay. Now, are they coming to take your guns? This is not the case. If they were going to come take them, they would have taken them already. And that's not the case here. And so this is the fact check number 5. Fact check number 6, mandatory minimums and 3 strikes. Biden, Republicans didn't like the fact that we removed mandatory minimums for first-time offenders. And so it was the Republicans who were against this. Okay. Mandatory minimums and 3 strikes. Some people were impacted by this, some people were not. If you were a first-time offender, you did not get a mandatory minimum. Okay. Fact check number 7. The bill also included things I didn't like. I didn't support the provision the president wanted in called 3 strikes and you're out. Didn't support it then, don't support it now. So this is from 2019. Biden was saying this. Okay. So for anybody who think that this just came out yesterday, this did not come out yesterday. This is from last year. Okay. Fact check number 8. I didn't support any mandatory minimums. So we covered that already. More money for prisons. So fact check number 9. I didn't support more money to build state prisons. I was against it. We should be building rehab centers and not prisons. So this is something that goes in with the drug courts and the drug addiction programs that was in the bill. Okay. So those are the fact checks here. Biden did support $6 billion in funding for state prison construction, but not $10 billion that was part of the final bill. His campaign says the $4 billion difference is what he means when he says he didn't support more money to build state prisons. He's right about this. This is a fact check. And so that's the facts about the crime bill. They made it seem as if Biden was the only one behind this, but in reality, there were a lot more people involved in this than what should have been. And that's not being called out publicly. So I wanted to make sure we covered that from a factual perspective. This was posted on July 12th, 2019. Okay, if you don't know, now you know. And so there's been a lot of discussion about the black vote. Trump has a platinum plan. Biden has a lift every voice plan. And, I think it's only fair that we cover this real quick. So let's cover the lift every voice plan. Okay. This is from Joe Biden's site. Lift every voice, the Biden plan for Black America. So some people will ask, well, why are these, why are politicians always pandering towards Black people? Because the Black vote matters in key swing states. And so if you don't get the Black vote, there's a high probability that you may not tip over the popular vote in these swing states. And so we have to keep in mind that these things matter in the perspective of politics in America. So let me zoom this in. The Biden plan for Black America will advance the economic mobility of African Americans and close the racial wealth and income gaps, expand access to higher quality education and tackle racial inequality in our education system, make far-reaching investments in ending health disparities by race, strengthening America's commitment to justice, make the right to vote and the right to protection, equal protection for real for African Americans, and address environmental justice. It should be environmental injustice. I think that might be an error on their behalf. And so let me just cover these quick points real quick. Economic mobility. Black people on average make less than their white counterparts in this country. We already know this, but why is the case? That needs to be more investigated. More actual academic research should be done on that. Expand access to high quality education and tackle racial inequality in our education system. School choice has always been a discussion since probably the 60s, right? Brown versus Board of Education comes into mind from the 50s or 1954. Make far-reaching investments in ending health disparities by race. Yeah, racism in healthcare is a real thing. I'm not sure if anybody else knows this, but it's one of the more benign aspects of racism in this country is through healthcare. Strengthening America's commitment to justice, vague language that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because the president of the United States actively right now did not meet with George Floyd's family when he went to Minnesota. Instead, he sent the Predator drone over Minnesota to watch the protesters as they practice demonstration in the First Amendment on the ground. I don't know what that really means entirely, but it's all vague. Make the right to vote and the right to equal protection real for African Americans. So the 14th and 15th Amendment is a part of the Constitution. The problem is the lack of enforcement. You have a lot of states below the Mason-Dixon line, below Maryland for that matter, that do not want to enforce the 14th and the 15th Amendment. Okay, they want to basically weaken the Black population's constitutional powers in those states. So that's a real problem. Okay, the 14th and 15th Amendment, make sure you keep that in mind. The 15th Amendment is about voting. The 14th is about equal protection. Address environmental justice. So during COVID, what we saw was on the satellite maps from NASA and various other agencies that when the lockdown occurred, a lot of pollution went away because people weren't driving and people weren't operating such machinery. Fair enough. But the pollution in these areas where Black people live are what has impacted COVID for them. So it was an accelerator in actually contracting the virus itself, from what research has shown from MIT and Harvard and various other National Institute of Health and some of these other agencies what they have found. And so there should be environmental reparations discussed, and address environmental justice, kind of vague, but it should go into more detail. So I just wanted to make sure that we covered that aspect of the Biden plan, because Biden doesn't have a plan for anybody else except for Black people, because it's such a urgency to actually make a commitment to Black voters, because they matter in these swing states and these constituent states that are considered to be blue. Okay. So let me pull up Trump's platinum plan. Sounds more like aluminum foil, if you ask me. All right, let me share my screen real quick. All right, so this is straight from Donald Trump's website. The Platinum Plan, President Trump's pillars. President Trump promised to Black America over 4 years, increase access to capital in Black communities by almost $500 billion. Sounds like a lot. Let's look into this. 3 million new jobs for the Black community. Where the jobs are going to be, we don't know. Creating 500,000 new Black-owned businesses. Sounds good. Increase increase access to capital in Black communities by almost $500 billion. Sounds good. Safe urban neighborhoods with highest policing standards. This is coming from somebody who threatened to use federal troops in Chicago, in Portland, in Minnesota, Minneapolis, okay? Keep that in mind. Commit to working on a second step act, okay? Vague, but that's what he's saying. Access to better education and job training opportunities, okay? Give Black churches the ability to compete for federal resources for their community. Now, why would anybody give a religious organization access to resources for their community? I don't get this. Right? This doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Bring better and tailored healthcare to address historic disparities. Sounds like the Biden plan, but more vague talk. Immigration policy that protects American jobs. This is not really a 100% focus for Black people. I'm not sure why, in Boston, I don't think anybody is being impacted by a wall on the border, right? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Advance home ownership opportunities and enhance financial literacy in the Black community. Sounds good. Okay, sounds good. Onshoring manufacturing to advance jobs and develop opportunities for Black-owned businesses. Onshoring manufacturing. What exactly are we going to be manufacturing? Because we don't control any industries in the Black community, okay? We don't control any industries that are nominal for global trade. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Unless you want to talk about, making masks and things like that. I mean, anybody can make a mask. Develop opportunities for Black-owned businesses. What does that mean? And it's only one page. Keep that in mind. It's only one page. At the very least, he could have created a better document. I don't know why it's only one page, right? Biden's Lift Every Voice is 22 pages. I only covered the bullets because we don't have a whole lot of time to go through all of the bullet points in detail. So education, African Americans can choose federal, state, and local community partnerships to close failing schools to replace with full school choice and education opportunity to put American parents back in control over their children's future, increase child care tax credits, and provide greater access to quality preschool. Education African Americans can afford. Continue to protect the vital role of historically Black colleges and universities. Yeah, right. Spur innovation ecosystems by connecting minority institutions with the federal government's broad range of scientific and engineering research and development. That sounds good, but we're not seeing anything on the ground. You had 4 years to do this. Increase the amount of Pell Grants and allow for vocational and employment, and second change homecomers. I think that's a grammatical error on there. And advanced targeted apprenticeship and job training programs. More vague language. Okay. Better and cheaper healthcare. We have the ACA, so I'm not sure what that really means. Safe streets. Continue to make historic improvements to the criminal justice system through common sense actions like the First Step Act, including increased use of drug rehabilitation versus drug incarceration. Well, we just went over the crime bill in 1994. Was this not included in it? This was included in it. Okay. Announce a national clemency program to unite families and invest in human potential, focusing on wrongful prosecution and rehabilitation. Restore safety to America's great cities by working with police departments, community leaders, and mental health professionals to install the most responsive, professional, and accountable models of policing, including diversity training and accreditation standards. Now, this is coming from somebody who took out critical race theory training not too long ago, about 6 weeks ago, from federal officers. Make it make sense, okay? Make that make sense. Prosperous Black communities champion federal policy reforms to advance home ownership initiatives. Partner with local leaders in Black communities to ensure maximum federal support for neighborhood revitalization. Make Juneteenth a national holiday. You wouldn't recognize George Floyd or Jacob Blake, but you would recognize a holiday that you don't even know exists. Prosecute the KKK and Antifa as terrorist organizations and make lynching a national hate crime. Well, there's already an anti-lynching bill in the Senate. And what happened in the Senate in June of 2020, Rand Paul, Republican, filibustered the bill, the anti-lynching bill that Kamala Harris, Senator, proposed. Okay. This was only in June of 2020. This wasn't like 10 years ago or something like this. This was only a few months ago. Fuel Black farmers and access to healthy foods to address food disparities. Yeah, right. Favorable trade deals to bring back manufacturing jobs and help Black contractors, farmers, inventors, and consumers. You've had 4 years to do something like this, and nothing is on the table so far. Defend religious liberty in African-American churches that lift the conscience of our nation. Defend religious liberty in African-American churches that lift the conscience of our nation. This is coming from somebody who stood in Charlottesville or spoke on Charlottesville and said, find people on both sides. Proud Boy, stand back and stand by. I mean, I don't know. Collaborate with cities and counties to address mental illness and substance abuse. So this is where we are. This is the platinum plan. Sounds more like aluminum foil, if you ask me. I don't know who came up with this name. I don't even know who wrote this. I don't think, very highly of either one of these plans that pander to Black and brown people. I think it's kind of insulting, politically speaking, to actually engage people at that level. I mean, this is something you just do. You don't actually pitch it out there. You just do it as a politician. And when you're the president of the United States, you have executive order. There's a lot of things that don't have to pass through Congress or don't have to pass through the House or the Senate. You can just do certain things and things happen, okay? He pulled the United States out of the Paris Climate Change Agreement. he pulled the United States out of the World Health Organization this year. You know, he cut regulation by lots for getting his wall up on the border between Mexico and the United States. These are the sort of executive orders that he's taking place, that he's enacted. But you know, when it comes to this stuff, you know, he's kind of like, yeah, if you vote for me, this is what you'll get. I shouldn't have to vote for you to get this. As an American, I shouldn't have to do that, right? You should just do things in the best interest of the people. But as we see that this is not the case. And so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I just wanted to make sure I put my predictions out there. Trump needs 270 to win. It doesn't look like he's going to get 270 at all. Okay, based on numbers. And so Biden, if Biden takes Pennsylvania and Biden takes Michigan and Wisconsin, it's pretty much game over at that point. He has no way of winning 270. Okay. That's my analysis on this. I wanted to make sure we covered that. We'll do a post analysis tomorrow, just to make sure we cover the fallout of the loss. We could be spending all week going into this because both can claim victory, and we don't know what can happen after that.